On a plantation, a rabbit is being hunted for eating the crops. Just as it reaches the road and is about to be shot, the sound of a car crash suddenly rings out. Elsewhere, in a small rented room, a blind pianist named Akash plays the piano beautifully. He is incredibly talented, and even though he cannot see, he seems to understand everything happening around him. A neighborhood boy named Bandhu loves teasing him, and Akash already knows it is the same prankster causing trouble again, so he makes Bandhu call him a rickshaw. That day, Akash goes out to do his usual activities and later returns home. He is completely obsessed with music and is preparing for a piano competition in London. In his mind, being blind actually gives him an advantage because it helps him become more sensitive to sound and makes it easier for him to find inspiration for his compositions. In another part of the city, a married couple, Pramod and Simi, are going about their normal routine in their apartment. Pramod is a former Indian film star, while Simi is an aspiring actress he has been helping build up. Pramod also has a daughter named Dani, and he has been married to Simi for the past 3 years. Then the story shifts to Sophie, a strong-willed but kind-hearted woman who accidentally bumps into Akash. Feeling bad about it, she quickly apologizes, and that awkward little moment turns into a conversation. Before long, Sophie learns that Akash is a pianist, and that immediately catches her attention. As it turns out, her family owns a restaurant called Franco, and she just happens to need a piano player there. After hearing him play, she is so impressed that she hires him on the spot to perform every night. Later, Sophie drives Akash home and asks how he lost his sight. He tells her it happened when he was 14, after being hit by a cricket ball. Even though the instrumental piece he is working on is not finished yet, Sophie genuinely loves it, and Akash is clearly touched by her praise. But the moment Sophie leaves, the truth comes out. Akash is not actually blind at all. He has been wearing special contact lenses to make his eyes look blind. He has been pretending the whole time because he believes living as a blind man sharpens his hearing and helps him focus more deeply on music. He is not who he seems. This is Andhadhun. The next time Sophie picks him up for his performance at the restaurant, Akash deliberately skips the lenses so he can finally see how beautiful she really is. At Franco, the guests are completely entertained by Akash's performance. One of them is Pramod, who becomes convinced that Akash is destined to become a star. Akash is thrilled because he has always been a huge fan of Pramod and grew up watching his old films. Pramod is flattered by the admiration and leaves him a generous tip. He asks Akash to come the next afternoon at 1, since it is his wedding anniversary with Simi. To keep it a surprise, Pramod lies to Simi and tells her he has work out of town the next day. That night, heavy rain forces Sophie to take shelter at Akash's place, and she ends up borrowing his clothes. Even with the situation, Akash keeps his distance and chooses not to look while she changes. The two spend the evening together, drinking and talking, growing even closer. At some point, Sophie finds an eye cover in his room. Akash casually explains that he uses it to sleep without being disturbed by light. Curious, Sophie tries it on, wanting to experience what it feels like to live like him. By the end of the night, they fall asleep together. The next morning, Sophie attempts to make breakfast, but it turns into a complete mess since she is still wearing the eye cover. Later that day, Akash heads to Pramod and Simi's apartment as planned. When he arrives, Simi opens the door. Akash congratulates her on the anniversary and explains that Pramod invited him to play piano. But Simi seems confused and says her husband is out of town. At first, she hesitates to let him in, but when an elderly neighbor starts watching from across the hallway, she reluctantly allows him inside. Simi calls Pramod to confirm the story, then tells Akash that her husband will be back in 10 minutes. She also tests him, asking if he is completely blind or only partially. Akash calmly repeats the same story about losing his sight from a cricket accident when he was 14. Then, while playing the piano, something suddenly throws him off. In front of him lies a dead body, surrounded by blood. Akash freezes for a brief moment, but quickly regains control, continuing to play as if nothing is wrong. When he later goes to the bathroom, he realizes the killer is still inside the apartment. The man watches him closely, but he is convinced that Akash is truly blind. The body on the floor turns out to be Pramod. A flashback reveals what really happened. Pramod had come home early with flowers and a gift, planning to surprise Simi. Instead, he catches her with another man, the same man now holding the gun. Without hesitation, Pramod is shot and killed. Back in the present, Simi and her lover begin cleaning up the scene. All the while, Akash keeps playing the piano, silently watching everything unfold. They stuff Pramod's body into a suitcase and even take the time to remove his watch and ring. To maintain the illusion, the man rings the doorbell, pretending that Pramod has just arrived.
अरे लगता है प्रमोद आ गए।
Simi plays a recording of Pramod's voice, so Akash will not suspect anything. After that, she stages it as if Pramod has left again, and her accomplice walks out carrying the suitcase. Akash continues playing until the end, while Simi breaks down, overwhelmed by what she has done. She then tells Akash that Pramod will be back late and that he can leave for now. As Akash sits for a moment to gather himself, a lottery seller approaches him and asks for help submitting a ticket for a nearby customer, claiming it will bring good luck. After that brief encounter, Akash asks for a rickshaw and heads straight to the police station, determined to report what he just witnessed. But the moment he arrives and tries to report a murder, everything takes a sudden turn. The man who killed Pramod turns out to be a police inspector named Manohar. Realizing the danger, Akash quickly changes his story. He pretends that the victim was just his cat, supposedly killed by his neighbor Bandhu. Another officer, Parish, laughs it off, thinking it is nothing serious. But Manohar is not convinced. He grows suspicious and personally escorts Akash home. Outside the station, Manohar's wife, Rasika, is visibly upset after waiting for him outside a movie theater for over an hour while his phone was turned off. Manohar brushes it off as an important case and leaves with Akash. At Akash's place, Manohar starts testing him, trying to figure out if he is truly blind. In that tense moment, Akash suddenly remembers the box of contact lenses and quickly hides it before it can raise suspicion. That night, Simi shows up at the Franco restaurant and carefully observes Akash's behavior. She puts on an act, pretending she has no idea where her husband is and claiming she has been unable to reach him. The next morning, Pramod's body is discovered, and the news spreads rapidly. During an interview, Simi claims that the last time she saw her husband, he had taken 10 million rupees to buy land and never returned. To create a false lead, Pramod's watch is placed in a public restroom, hoping that whoever picks it up will become a suspect. But with no solid evidence, Manohar pretends to investigate and even shows the watch to Dani, Pramod's daughter. Akash is also called in for questioning. He calmly gives a statement that matches everything he supposedly experienced at the apartment. Inside, however, he is struggling. He wants to tell the truth, but he holds himself back and chooses to stay quiet. After signing his statement, Akash plays the piano at Pramod's funeral. Simi delivers a short speech, claiming that her husband arrived after Akash had already come, and that she never expected such a tragedy. But not everyone believes her. An elderly neighbor named Disa, who lives across from Simi, knows something is wrong. She tells Parish what she really saw. According to Disa, Simi was involved with a muscular man, someone who looked like a bodybuilder. Pramod had arrived home on time, and only after that did Akash come in. Parish tries to confront Simi with this information, but she quickly deflects, claiming it was just an incident from the previous week involving a pizza delivery man. Still suspicious, Parish goes to Manohar's house and shares everything Disa told him. Rasika suggests creating a sketch of the suspect so they can catch him quickly. She believes it would lead to a promotion for both Parish and Manohar, completely unaware that her own husband is the one responsible. Feeling the pressure closing in, Manohar leaves immediately and warns Simi. Not long after, Simi sends Dani out to buy medicine for a headache. Then she goes to Disa's apartment under the pretense of asking for medicine. At that exact moment, Akash arrives nearby and once again witnesses something horrifying. He sees Simi push Disa off the balcony. Later, the police report states that Disa slipped and fell from her apartment. Now completely shaken, Akash rushes back home and calls Sophie, asking her to come immediately. But at the same time, Bandhu, who has always been curious about Akash's blindness, secretly records him through the window. That is when the truth finally comes out. Akash is not blind. Not long after, Simi arrives at Akash's apartment. She thanks him for helping comfort Dani, who is still in shock after her father's death. Then she offers him a piece of cake, and without thinking too much, Akash eats it. While Akash is making coffee, Simi starts testing him again. First, she tries to scare him with a mask, but Akash does not react, managing to stay in character. Then she tries something more subtle. She pours a liquid into a glass and waits to see if he notices. Akash becomes nervous, realizing he might expose himself if he reacts the wrong way. To avoid drinking it, he pretends to accidentally drop the glass. But that small mistake gives him away. In an instant, Simi points a gun at him. For a moment, it feels real, but it turns out to be fake. Still, the message is clear. She knows the truth. Akash tries to calm the situation, making it clear that he does not want any part in this and promises to keep everything a secret. After all, no one else knows that he can actually see. But suddenly his body begins to react. He starts coughing uncontrollably and collapses. The cake he ate earlier was drugged. When Sophie finally arrives, Bandhu shows her the video proving that Akash can see. Shocked, she rushes upstairs only to find Simi already there. Everything starts to fall apart at once. Sophie realizes she has been lied to all along, not just about Akash's blindness, but also about his involvement with Simi. Overwhelmed and betrayed, she walks away, cutting Akash out of her life and even firing him from the restaurant. Later that night, Akash regains consciousness, but something is terribly wrong. He has truly gone blind. The drug Simi gave him has taken away his vision for real, and panic sets in immediately. Akash insists that he will expose everything to the media, but Simi is no longer worried. Now that he is actually blind, no one will believe him. To make sure there is no evidence left, she deletes the video from Bandhu's phone. Desperate, Akash tries to explain everything to Sophie, but she has already had enough and refuses to believe a word he says. At the same time, tension grows between Simi and Manohar. Simi begins to break under the weight of everything she has done, realizing she has become a killer more than once. She blames Manohar for bringing the gun that day and for pulling the trigger, believing things could have ended differently. But Manohar is only focused on one thing now. He knows Akash is still alive and could expose them at any moment. Without hesitation, he decides to eliminate the problem and moves in to strangle him. Akash manages to escape, but without his walking stick, he stumbles, falls, and eventually loses consciousness. The next morning, he wakes up in an old clinic. It turns out Murli, the rickshaw driver, and Sakhu, the lottery seller, were the ones who brought him there. Still in shock, Akash immediately asks for his eyes to be checked. But Dr. Swami calmly tells him that the eye specialist will only arrive later that night. For now, Murli and Sakhu take care of him. Sakhu even mentions that the lottery ticket Akash helped with earlier has won 10,000 rupees. She starts to believe that Akash is someone blessed with extraordinary luck. But that night, the truth finally comes out. There is no specialist coming. The three of them have been working together all along. Dr. Swami plans to harvest both of Akash's kidneys and sell them, while Murli and Sakhu will receive 200,000 rupees as their share. At first, Akash senses something is off. The clinic feels strangely empty. Then it hits him. He is about to be operated on. He panics and fights back, but Murli and Sakhu try to force him to stay still. Thinking quickly, Akash makes a bold move. He offers them 10 million rupees instead. Then he reveals something unexpected. He mentions a tattoo of the deity Shankar on Sakhu's hand, something he should not have been able to know. That moment changes everything. As they prepare to operate, Sakhu begins to question how Akash could possibly know about the tattoo. Fear and doubt creep in. They start to believe that Akash is not an ordinary person, but someone special, almost like a divine figure blessed with luck. Sensing an opportunity, Akash leans into it. He starts describing Murli and Sakhu in detail, making it seem like he knows everything about them. This only strengthens their belief. Instead of harming him, they decide to protect him. Just like that, the three of them become allies. Meanwhile, Manohar realizes that Akash has disappeared. Simi grows furious and demands that he be found immediately. But when Simi returns to her apartment, she is shocked to find Akash already there, calmly spending time with Donnie. Akash tells her that he plans to go to London the next day for a piano competition and even invites her to come along. Simi agrees to take him to the airport and calls Donnie to let her know he is with her. Meanwhile, Manohar secretly instructs Simi to take Akash somewhere isolated so he can be killed. On the way, Akash reveals his true intentions. He threatens to expose both Simi and Manohar to the media unless she gives him $1 million, money he claims he needs for a black market cornea transplant. Simi refuses, unwilling to pay such a huge amount. Then suddenly a rickshaw blocks the road. In an instant, everything flips. Simi is captured by Akash and his new accomplices. From there, Akash takes things even further. He contacts Rasika, pretending to be a detective. He claims that Pramod had hired him because he suspected Simi was having an affair with Manohar. He also reveals that Manohar killed Pramod and threatens to expose everything unless Rasika pays $10 million. He insists that he has strong evidence to back him up. Rasika is furious. Consumed by anger, she even tries to shoot Manohar, but fails. Under pressure, Manohar finally admits his crime, though he shifts the blame onto Simi. He claims he was manipulated and insists that he only loves Rasika. Just then, Paresh calls with shocking news. The police have found Simi's car in the river, and it is believed that she has done the unthinkable. News of Simi's supposed death quickly spreads everywhere. Donnie mentions that the last time Simi was seen, she was with Akash. With the river known to be full of crocodiles, people begin to assume that both of them are already gone. But the truth is very different. Simi is still alive, held captive in the old clinic. Her blood is tested, and if it matches, her corneas will be transplanted into Akash. At the same time, Akash cleverly manipulates the situation. He pushes Simi to confess everything, her role in killing her own husband and Disa. Without her realizing it, her confession is recorded as solid evidence. The next morning, Saku calls to demand the $10 million, and Manohar is told to deliver the money himself. Rasika pressures him to fix the situation he created. At this point, Manohar still believes both Simi and Akash are dead, but he is determined to eliminate whoever is blackmailing him, since they clearly have proof of his crime. Back at the clinic, things take another turn. Murli and Saku suddenly betray Akash. They tie him up, planning to take all the money for themselves. Meanwhile, the doctor confirms that Simi's blood is a match. Simi, seeing Akash helpless, begins to enjoy the moment. But instead of finishing him off, she suggests they work together to free themselves. When Manohar arrives, he is instructed to leave the bag containing $10 million. But instead of following orders, he sneaks in through the emergency stairs. There, he spots Murli carrying the bag and immediately shoots him. With his last breath, Murli reveals that the evidence is with Saku, sending Manohar rushing to find her. Panicked, Saku shuts down the elevator, trapping Manohar inside. She then rushes Murli to the hospital, but it is too late. He does not survive. To make matters worse, the money in the bag turns out to be fake. Even then, when the doctor suggests harvesting Murli's organs for profit, Saku agrees without hesitation, thinking only about money. Meanwhile, Akash manages to free himself. Simi is partially freed as well, just enough to show him a window they could break to escape. But secretly, she uses a pair of scissors to cut only her own restraints. Once she is free, she immediately turns on Akash and attacks him. At that moment, Dr. Swami returns, only to be violently attacked by Simi. She stabs him repeatedly with the scissors until he is overpowered and she is finally sedated. Afterward, Swami thanks Akash for saving his life. They place Simi into the trunk of a car and leave the clinic. Swami reveals his plan to sell Simi's organs, which could be worth around 60 million rupees. With that kind of money, he promises to arrange the best possible eye transplant for Akash. But Akash is not willing to go that far. He refuses to kill Simi just for money and a chance to see again. Then the story jumps forward 2 years, now set in Europe. Sophie is on vacation when she comes across a performance by Akash. He is on stage playing the piano beautifully while the audience admires him. He is still wearing dark glasses, suggesting that he is still blind. After the performance, Akash meets Sophie again and invites her for coffee. She still believes he cannot see. This time, Akash finally decides to tell her everything that really happened, and the story shifts back once more into the past. As the story flashes back, Akash and Dr. Swami are on the road with Simi locked in the trunk. Akash insists that she should be set free, believing they already have enough evidence to bring her to justice. But Swami has no intention of letting her live. Then a noise suddenly comes from the trunk. Simi is awake. Swami prepares to sedate her again, but this time things go differently. Simi fights back and manages to kill him. After that, she takes control and gets into the driver's seat, while Akash, unable to see, assumes that Swami is still the one driving. Believing he is speaking to Swami, Akash makes it clear that he does not want Simi to die. He tries to convince him to stop and do the right thing. Hearing this, Simi is unexpectedly moved. For a brief moment, she hesitates and tells Akash to get out of the car, giving him a chance to walk away. But that moment does not last. Fear takes over. Simi realizes that as long as Akash is alive, he could expose everything, especially with the recorded confession. She turns the car around, determined to kill him. And then everything comes full circle. Out of nowhere, a rabbit runs into the road and collides with the car, causing it to crash, flip over, and explode, just like the incident seen at the very beginning. After that, Akash eventually makes his way to London with the help of a friend. Time passes and fate brings him back together with Sophie. He invites her to attend his concert that evening, and she promises to try to be there. After hearing the full story, Sophie is deeply moved by everything he has been through. She believes he should have followed Swami's plan and taken Simi's corneas so he could see again. especially considering how dangerous Simi was. But Akash does not respond. He simply walks away, using his cane, the one with a rabbit design at the top. And then, in a subtle moment, the truth reveals itself. Akash can actually see again. He has been pretending to be blind once more. As for how he regained his vision, that secret remains locked away with him. So the moral of the story is if you fake being blind, life might take it way too seriously and turn it into a full-time job.